And this sounds like the most obvious thing in the world, but I want you to think about how you felt on the Saturday after Thanksgiving at noon and how you felt at 3:30 on that day. Ohio State will beat Michigan for the first time since 2019.
Do you know, it didn't even occur to me that Ohio State would lose last year's game until it was over.
Me neither.
You were next to
there
me.
were
Like,
3 touchdown favorites.
I was like, they'll win. It's going to be ugly and whatever, but they'll win the game. And then when they broke off that big run on the final drive, it hit me. I was like, wow, they lost. They literally just lost this game. I think that my theory is this, and I've shared it with you, I think, but now that Ryan Day has won the national title and has a little pep in his step, that maybe he can get out of his own head in this week and just take care of business and treat it like it's not the biggest thing in the entire world. I think there's a balance between treating it with the importance that it deserves without letting it control your mind and not letting it control, your temperament and how you do your preparation for it. I do think that unlike any other rivalry in this sport, that emotions and hatred and how much it means to the fan bases to win that game can overtake your entire being as a human. And I think that Ryan Day winning the national title might have helped him escape that feeling of, if I don't win this game, I'm going to need cops at my house. Now right. that is gone. I think that but listen, Andy, I've been constantly and will forever be called an Ohio State homer. I didn't think that Ohio State was going to lose any of the last 4 because it didn't make sense. So the fact that you have this here, I'm like, yeah, they're going to beat them. Of course they're going to beat them. But that's how I felt.
22 and 23 made sense to me. Last year didn't make any sense. But to your point about Ryan Day,
made sense, but I never predicted that it would happen.
To your point about Ryan Day winning the national title and maybe it changes it. I think the way it changes it is he doesn't go into that game thinking I have to beat Michigan the way Michigan beats me. And that's where they lost last year. Just throw the freaking ball to number 4. That's really all you got to do.
Yeah. I mean, and it seems to have gotten in their head too, because he doesn't.
Urban Meyer never cared about beating Michigan in Jim Harbaugh's preferred style. He just beat Michigan by creating mismatches and destroying them.
Everybody mocks Ryan Day for how he behaved on the field at Notre Dame 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. Remember that? Where's Lou Holtz? You want to talk about a tough team? That's a tough team right there. That behavior was manifested because he was called soft against Michigan.
Right.
If you want to talk about how a person can be impacted by losing that game as Ohio State's coach, they became obsessed with being the tougher team. They became obsessed with winning on the ground. They became obsessed with beating Michigan the Michigan way. And meanwhile, the Ohio State way has always been good enough to win national titles.
And the thing is, think about after the Michigan game last year. They beat Tennessee, Oregon, Texas, and Notre Dame in a row.
And Notre Dame,
all of those teams are incredibly tough. They are incredibly big and strong and fast up front. And Ohio State beat them. So the toughness is no longer in question.
Notre Dame last year was the much, much, much better version of Michigan.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about, and I told people this last year going into the game, I'm like, yeah, they're a 17.5 point favorite, everyone, or whatever it was, but watch out for the mental aspect of this. And as we were at Texas Roadhouse, you and I were happy. We were eating breadsticks.
We're in College Station, Texas, because why would we have gone to
that
Columbus for this game? Because who would have thought that would happen? Yeah, it was wild. But it was one of those things. As the game was going on, you could feel it, even through the television. I can't even imagine what it was like when it was there, when you were there. But you could feel the pucker factor, and I just don't think that's going to be there anymore.
Yeah, I think that if he could just rely on himself, there's a picture here that I wish I would have sent River before, but I'm going to try to do it while I talk, of John Cooper against Michigan in the 90s that I just sent it to you, River. See if you can put it up. But that picture is the exact manifestation of what Ryan Day was doing on the sideline. It's arms crossed. It's that 1,000-yard stare up into the sky. It's the, I can't believe this is happening. And this is we're allowed to say profanity now. It's the live view of shitting your pants in front of everybody. Like, and that like, to me, Michigan should be the most proud of that more than anything, which is that they got it. Look at that. Like, that's the 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah.
That's a human being that is overcome by the moment. And I feel like Ryan Day probably exorcised some of those demons.
Yeah, he's been through bigger moments now. He's overcome them. He's succeeded in bigger moments than that. Like, it shouldn't be the be all end all. It is a huge game. But they still should have the better team this year. Now we'll see how Michigan evolves with Bryce Underwood at quarterback. I think Michigan's going to be good. But Ohio State should still have the better roster by the time they play.
Yeah, Michigan had 13 players drafted after the 23 season, and that was the highest number of players from any individual school in a draft that year. I would have made the case going into 23 that Ohio State was more talented than Michigan was, and we'll never know whether that's true or not because all of Ohio State's players came back and they set a new draft record this year. So, but I still think that Ohio State had a talent advantage in all 4 games. And I know
I don't know about 23. I really don't know about Ohio State. And I think they were fairly equal in 23.
That would have been taken after 23 that came back and helped them win it the next year. Those players are still on that team. It's not just a 1-for-1 comparison.
But Michigan still had Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham coming back. So like it's not like
and JJ McCarthy was first
right. JJ McCarthy first round quarterback. Like JJ McCarthy or Kyle McCord. We've relitigated that a million times.
Andy, the game came down to the final drive, so it doesn't really even seem.
It did. Right. Exactly.
Ohio State, if they held one more block or one block for another second, might have hit Marvin Harrison for a touchdown on the final drive and won. Yes. So whether one team had more talent than the other, I guess, is a moot point because they both were very talented. But like Ohio State last year, when you want to talk about choking, that was maybe the biggest choke in the history of the rivalry. And I think it was the worst team that ever won the rivalry. And I think it was the biggest upset in the history of the rivalry. I don't know if the Tim Bianca-Patuca game you think is worse, but when you actually have the full context of what Ohio State was with the
I don't know that this Michigan team was the 24 Michigan team was the worst team to ever win, but I do think it was the largest talent discrepancy where the less talented
Michigan was bad last year, Andy. They were bad.
Yes.
I can't remember
better at the time, but they were
bad team won. And Ohio State, Ohio State won most of them for my entire adult life. So I can't remember. I was a kid in the 90s when that was happening. But like when you think about the actual how good a team is in comparison to, some of the teams that both of those teams have had over the last 30 years, like it's kind of hard to come up with a team that actually won the game. I'm not even thinking about upset, a team that was worse that won the game ever because they both were very good for the last 30 years.
Yeah, I think that's over now. I think the national title probably broke that hold on Ryan Day. And we'll find out when we get to November. But
can you imagine if they lost again?
I'm not going to imagine that because I'm boldly predicting that they'll win. They'll win this one.
But the thing that is kind of sad to me, and listen, I like Ryan Day. I like him as a human being. I think he's a good guy. And I like being around him. And I don't want to see anybody suffer. I don't want to see Sharon Moore suffer. It is.
I think Sharon Moore's earned the benefit of the doubt. Like he can take a loss at this point.
You want to think I'm an Ohio State homer. Take this comment. The thing that I hate the most about the expanded playoff, and I think that my brain at times has been conditioned to the Ohio State brain as a result of being in that bubble for 10 years, that the Ohio State head coach can weasel, maybe that's not the right word, can win his way out of the inability to beat Michigan because the system allows it to. And now we're at a place where when I say, can you imagine if they lost to Michigan, it really wouldn't feel as big of a deal as it did even last year because they won the national title.
Oh no, I'm telling you right now for that week or month or whatever, it would be the biggest thing in the world.
No, I know, but it wouldn't be nearly as hot as it was a year ago. Like last year when he lost it, like I thought there was conversations that he was going to leave his job. Like you don't remember because it's clouded by what happened.
I remember. I do remember.
It was like,
remember thinking, are we serious about this? But
I mean, I remember hearing reports and hearing things behind the scenes that he was going to coach the rest of the season and then go coordinate somewhere in the NFL or something, like that he was done with it. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that's where we were mentally. And like that can't exist anymore.
As producer River points out, it's the reason we saw so many Tennessee fans in Ohio Stadium.
Right. Think about it. The tickets were available because people were checked out, and they checked back in now. But like, you should not be able to not beat your rival. I think one of the main tenets of college football is certain individual games that paint whether or not your entire season is success. The fact that that doesn't exist in the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry anymore is one of the major drawbacks to me of this new system. And you don't have to agree with that, but that's how I feel. Like, the beauty of that game rested on you are made and broken as a man based on whether or not you could beat them. And that doesn't exist anymore.
I still think Ryan Day might be, if he loses again.
If Ryan Day lost the next 4 Michigan games and finished 1-7, or what's his record now? 1-4 or 1-5?
1-4.
Yeah, he's 1-4
because they didn't play in 2020. Yeah. Now Ohio State probably would have won.
If he finished 1-8 against Michigan, they lost the next 4, which is an unfathomable thing to say, but this is just for the sake of argument. And they don't win another national championship. And they, make the playoffs some years, or all years that he loses to Michigan, but they don't win another national title. He will go down in Ohio State lore as a great coach because they won the national title under him. And like, that doesn't exist for John Cooper, who, by the way, if you really want to go past,
except against Michigan,
was the first coach in college football to recruit nationally and create a super team. And what do you think of when you think about that face?
Lost to Michigan.
You don't think about how great of a coach he was, or Eddie George, or Orlando Pace. You don't think about that stuff. You don't think about Sean Springs and Antoine Winfield and the many NFL Pro Bowlers that played for him. You play for it. You think about his inability to beat his rival. He has to live with that every single day. And like, that's what this rivalry is supposed to be to me. That's what defines you. I think you can exist in this rivalry now and it not define you. And I think that sucks. That's all.
I think Ryan Day doesn't have to worry about that.
That's
in terms of his legacy, because I think he's striking. No, I'm not talking about that. I just don't think the 1-8 is going to happen, because I think he strikes back this year. I think he goes to 2-4, and then it starts to even out over the years.
Andy, I once bet Scott Docterman in 2021 the deed to my property that Ohio State wouldn't lose 4 out of the next 10.
Yeah, you're lucky you sold that house, because I think you should have given it to Scott.
Well, he didn't come up with an alternate bet to it. Like, he left it hanging. It's kind of like a lottery.
You have a house in Iowa right now, Ari.
He didn't put his house up. If he would have put his house up, I've paid my debts. My point is that like, it's easy to sit here right now and say that's not going to happen, but holy shit, Andy, they lost 4 in a row, man. Like,
they did, but I'm telling you that they strike back this year. They're striking back.
I know we're trying to move on. If you remember when you and I were eating hot dogs and you got mad at me for putting ketchup on my chicken tenders in Ann Arbor Stadium in 2019, and you and I were discussing the rivalry, what went wrong, how it went haywire, and like after the game, like, I don't remember what you wrote, but I wrote that Urban Meyer killed the rivalry. If I would have told you that they would win 4 in a row between 21 and 21, and
I would have said you were out of your mind, because I was writing about Jim Harbaugh. When he heard the phrase coaching gap, and he whipped his head around at the guy like, I'm going to kill you.
I'm going to kill you. Yeah. And I get like that people throw that back in my face as if I'm supposed to see this coming. It's like, okay, congratulations, Leo. You're smarter than me. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, but